It's Monday, February 26th, 2018, and it's time for my Monday show, Vanran10 on sports. So, we're going to talk about free agent quarterbacks. One in particular we'll talk a little bit more about than the rest, and that guy is Kirk Cousins. We'll get to him in a second. Now, Jimmy Garoppolo signed a 5-year, $137.5 million deal, about $27.5 million per season. This is from a guy who I think by the end of the season had thrown 6 touchdown passes and 5 interceptions, but he took a 1-10 San Francisco team and made them a 6-10 San Francisco team. So they won 5 in a row with him at the helm. And I did watch Garoppolo play a couple of games. He looked good. He may not have had the stats to back up some of this, but he looked good. So I can see why they probably paid this guy that kind of money. Because if you go off of the eye test, he looked good. It's a lot of money to gamble on somebody like that, but then again, it's unless you're signing, Brady or Rodgers or Roethlisberger or somebody of that ilk. It's gonna be a gamble to spend that kind of money. It really is. There aren't a lot of elite quarterbacks in the NFL. And we don't know. Garoppolo could turn out to be one. But the reason I bring up his contract is because that contract kind of set the market. Now, Blake Bortles is the Jacksonville Jaguars quarterback, and he gets bashed for not being a good quarterback. But I think his numbers were pretty decent this year, but people kept bashing him for not being a very good quarterback. But Jacksonville decided that they were going to sign him to a 3-year, $54 million extension. So he's going to make $18 million a year for the next 3 years. Not bad, not bad work if you can get it. $54 million should set you for life. So good on Bortles to get that money. But a lot of people said the reason the Jacksonville Jaguars basically signed this guy is because the free agent market for quarterbacks sucks. And I'm going to go through some of these names and you'll see the free agent market sucks. That's why Kirk Cousins is being talked about as getting $30 million a year. Garoppolo set the market, and there are people out there that think Cousins is worth more than Garoppolo. Now Cousins has a lot more games under his belt. Really, he's been a starter for the last few years. But is he really worth $30 million a season? Now they're mentioning teams like Arizona, Denver, the Jets, Minnesota Vikings. They're mentioning a lot of different teams that could take this guy. The Minnesota Vikings are interesting only because that means that of the 3 quarterbacks they had last year, they don't want any of them and they want to bring in Cousins. So they want to get rid of Bridgewater, they want to get rid of Bradford, and they want to get rid of Keenum to bring in Cousins. But does Minnesota have that kind of money under the cap? I don't know. I don't think they do. The Jets do have a ton of money under the cap. They're talking about releasing another one of their big stars to free up even more money under the cap. There was one of the NFL analysts, I can't remember who it was, but said if the New York Jets really wanted to, they could front load almost $90 million onto Cousins' contract. So let's say they sign him to a 6-year, $180 million deal. They could front load $90 million of it into one season. That's how much they are under the cap. That's insane to be that far under. But I guess they've just been letting players go left and right, not paying anybody. So do I think that's a good landing spot for him? No. They actually say the best landing spot might be Minnesota. But does Minnesota have $30 million in cap space to sign a quarterback and basically say, I don't need anybody else. I'm just going to keep everybody I got, not really upgrade except for maybe in the draft. Maybe they have a couple of other guys they want to get rid of. Now, they have a couple of decent receivers in Minnesota, so this could make it so at least he has some weapons, as opposed to coming to Denver where we'd have to release probably a lot of his weapons so that we could afford to pay him. Now, I don't want Cousins in Denver, not for that money. If you told me I could get Kirk Cousins for $15 million a year, I'd be fine. But I'm not paying Kirk Cousins that kind of money. Not 30 mil a season. He's not worth that. He's not Tom Brady. He's not Aaron Rodgers, and he's not Ben Roethlisberger. I'm not giving that guy that kind of money. But the Jets might. The Jets may give him a $180 million deal or a $150 million deal for 5 years. So, is he worth it? To me, no, not that kind of money. I don't think he's that good of a quarterback. Not to take such a big cap hit. Now, some of the other ones, we'll go through some of the other ones a little bit quicker. I brought up the Minnesota Cousins going to Minnesota. It's because basically Case Keenum, Sam Bradford, and Teddy Bridgewater are basically all free agents. Case Keenum looked pretty good last year, but he's only had one good season. He's been starters in other places. I think he was a starter in Houston for a little bit. He's been a starter in other places, and he's never really shown that much. He had a really good year. Was this his breakout year? I'd like to see one more year of Case Keenum doing that before I would want to sign him to any kind of real money. But Case Keenum could get $20 to $24 million a season. That's a lot of money. I'd be a little bit more comfortable with Case Keenum. All these quarterbacks, I'm a lot more comfortable with $15 million and below. But Case Keenum, I could maybe see myself, I could make a case for Keenum getting a little bit more than that, almost, the $18 million a year that Bortles gets. But not much more than that. He had a pretty good season last season, but I still wouldn't give him, bet the farm on him. Sam Bradford, when Sam Bradford's healthy, he is a very good quarterback. He just can't stay healthy. I'm not going to pay a guy. Now remember, Sam Bradford was the last guy, he was the last rookie to get the big contract before they came up with the rookie guidelines for how much a rookie can make depending on where they're picked. Sam Bradford was the last number one pick that got the big money, and I think he got 50 to 59 million, somewhere in there. He got a big contract, a 4 or 5 year contract for that big money as a rookie in the NFL. So he's already had a big contract. I think he's had a few big contracts. He's made a ton of money in his career, but Sam Bradford, I wouldn't even sign the guy. I'd sign him as a backup because maybe if he stays, if your starter goes down, you only need Bradford for a few games, that's fine. But I'm not paying Bradford any more than $5 to $8 million. I don't want him as my starter because he's not going to stay healthy. So I'm not going to mortgage my future on a guy that has shown to never complete a full season in the NFL. If he has completed a full season in the NFL, somebody please tell me, because I can't remember when he's ever finished a full season, played all 16 games. Teddy Bridgewater, I worry. When he played for Minnesota, I liked that kid. I really did, and I was really hoping he would have a really good career. But that injury that kept him out almost 2 years, I'd worry that's not ever going to, that's not really ever going to be fixed. So he would maybe hurt that again, or he's one of these guys that he's just snake bitten. He's always going to get hurt. Maybe his body can't take the abuse that NFL players dish out. So I wouldn't give Bridgewater a lot of money either. Bridgewater, I'm more in the, I'll give you 12 to 14 million a year. That's where I would put him. Because if he does stay healthy, and I would sign him to maybe a 3-year deal and say, look, Teddy, this is your chance to be the starter for my team, but I can't pay you a ton of money. But if you show me that you are a really good quarterback like you were before you got hurt, then maybe we'll renegotiate your contract in the middle of year 2 if you're still healthy and still there, and maybe we'll give you the big money then. But you got to show me that you can stay healthy for a little while and show me that you can still play the game. The next one, A.J. McCarron. A.J. McCarron's kind of a weird one. He's one of those guys that a lot of people were trying to trade for him, give up a second-round pick for McCarron. He was a Cincinnati backup to Dalton. So basically, Cincinnati said, go ahead and find your way. But McCarron is one of those guys that he's only played in a few games. He's looked okay. What do you pay this guy? Going rate for a backup quarterback. I mean, remember, Glennon got $15 million a year, and Glennon has never been worth $15 million a year. So where do I put McCarron? I'd probably pay him, for I don't think you can go lower than 12 million a year for almost any quarterback that could potentially be your starter. And I'm not even sure if in this day and age you can go lower than 15 million for your potential starter. So what I'm willing to pay and what other people are willing to pay are completely different. Now, of course, I'm a Bronco fan. We got the fourth or fifth pick in the draft. So we're probably going to get one of those top college prospect quarterback picks. So I'm not getting any of these guys. I'm not putting any money towards these. I'm going to keep either Simeon or Osweiler or something like that in, maybe even Chad Kelly, who they basically redshirted last year, that we got from, I think, the University of Mississippi, who is Jim Kelly's nephew. Give this kid a chance. Maybe he shows something. He was the last pick. He was Mr. Irrelevant in last year's draft, but he has some attitude problems, they said. So maybe you give him a chance. You keep Osweiler, and then you draft a young quarterback at number 5. And I still say you need to get Baker Mayfield. So then you have Josh McCown. Josh McCown is an okay quarterback, and I'll give this guy credit. That Jets team, I didn't think that Jets team would win a single game last year. They were so bad. And the Jets organization had basically unloaded all of its big contracts and got rid of its best players. Josh McCown still led them to, I think, 6 wins. So I think Josh McCown did an amazing job. But once again, he's just one of those quarterbacks. He's a journeyman quarterback. He's been all over the NFL. But I'd pay him $15 million a year for him being a veteran. Not for my team, but of an NFL team. $15 million. The last 3 I'm going to go through real quick. These are more bigger names than some of the others that are free agents. But you had Geno Smith, Ryan Fitzpatrick, and Matt Moore. Matt Moore is like 34 years old. He's basically at the end of his career. Solid backup. To me, he's a $10 to $12 million a year guy because he's going to be your backup quarterback. You're not signing that guy to be your starter. Ryan Fitzpatrick, he was given so many chances by the Jets, and he just failed. Once again, I'm going to sign Fitzpatrick as a backup. I'm going to give him $10 to $12 million a year. Geno Smith, I'm not signing this guy. I don't care what anybody says. Geno Smith to me is not a good NFL quarterback. I don't even want him on my team. But if somebody is going to sign him, it's going to be as a backup, and it's probably going to be in the same thing, $10 to $12 million a year range. I wouldn't want Geno Smith on my team because to me he's a waste of a roster spot. There are other quarterbacks out there, but that name kind of jumps out that it's like, he's still playing? Who's signing this guy? Who's keeping him relevant? Jay Cutler is also out there, and he didn't have a bad year, but he commands more money because he's kind of a known commodity. But I wouldn't pay him a lot either, and he was a Bronco. So yeah, it's like, I saw a few other names, there's a few other names out there that I was kind of surprised that were out there, but none of them are worth anything. Mark Sanchez is out there. Nobody wants Mark Sanchez. So Kirk Cousins could end up with $30 million a year. He could end up with a 5-year, $150 million deal. That's nuts for a okay quarterback. For slightly, I'll give him probably a B- quarterback. You don't pay a B- quarterback $30 million a year. You just don't. You pay a B- quarterback $18 million, because that's what I think Bortles is. Bortles is a B- quarterback. You pay him about $18 million a year. I'm telling you right now, I'd have a hard time deciding, do I want Bortles or do I want Cousins? To me, I think Bortles might have had the better year last year. And to me, I've seen Bortles. It's a slow climb, but Bortles seems to get just incrementally better. He's never going to be a rock star, but he gets a little better every year. So I think Jacksonville did the right thing. Pay the guy $18 million a season. In this quarterback market, all these guys that I say 10 to 12 million or 12 to 14 million, they're all going to get probably anywhere in the 18 to 20 million dollar range, because that's what the market, because of how much Garoppolo's making, how much Cousins will make, the rest of these guys are going to benefit. So with all that being said, to the troops, past, present, and future, thanks for the freedom.